First time I met Merle, we was opening up for him in New York City at Tramps. It's not there anymore, obviously. A lot of places aren't. It was very exciting. We were traveling in the Longhorn Suburban and had met Bonnie before in California. Kind of knew each other, but Bonnie got us on stage. Got me on stage with Merle that night. And then didn't really get to meet him till many years later. I was in, had the bus that used to be Ray Price's, an old Eagle, and I learned to drive. I got my CDL on that bus. So we was in Roanoke, Virginia, and I guess it was probably a day in between somewhere on the tour with the Legends tour with Ray Price, Merle, and Willie. And we were just fueling up, and then the guy comes over and says, "Hey, my boss would like to meet you." I said, "Yeah, okay." And I was literally putting diesel in the bus. I said, "Well, let me finish up." He says, "Who's your boss?" He says, "That's Merle Haggard. He's in that bus over there." I said, "Oh, yeah, heck yeah, I'd love to meet him." Like I said, I met him a couple of times, even between then. He signed an 8-track for me. But this is the first time that I got to hang out with him for a couple hours on his bus. The only reason he says, "That bus, I know that bus." I said, "Well, you might." He goes, that was Ray Price's bus, wasn't it? I said, "Yeah, sure was." He said, "The most fun I've ever had in the front lounge of a bus." Yes, he said, "In the front lounge of a bus, the most fun I've ever had was that bus right there. Just passing the guitar around, just me and Ray and Willie Nelson." Yeah, so he said he recognized that bus. And so again, we went on from then, but Merle was very, very nice. And yeah, the only good memories about Merle. I think you should have Fred Snowden on your show one time, because Fred is how I got that bus. Fred Snowden used to drive for Ray Price, and then when Ray was getting a new bus, Fred said, "Well, let me buy this bus," and so he did, and he proceeded to lease it out, and he toured everybody in that bus, every Texas artist in that bus. So he's got a lot of stories. He drove, like I said, he drove for Ray Price, and they were with Merle Haggard sitting in a diner, and we were in the same city that diner was, and Fred couldn't remember which diner it was. He said, "Yeah, I remember being here with Merle Haggard and Ray, and Merle ordered Mama's homemade chili, or Grandma's homemade chili." He says, "I'll try that." So she tries it, and the waitress comes back and says, "Well, was it like Grandma's?" "Yeah, well, it was a lot like Grandma's. I just don't remember her shitting in hers." So that's a good Merle Haggard story. Yeah.
Was he shy when you were around him?
Not on the bus. I was in his domain. I wouldn't. He wasn't drinking at the time. Well, I don't know if I don't know when he stopped drinking, but he wasn't drinking then, and he's still smoking a pipe with pot in it. But he was laid back. He was not nervous at all. He was. Matter of fact, I told him I was about to record "Frisco," a song that he wrote, and because I'd been doing it, and I love that song, and I told him that. He said, "Frisco, Frisco, I can't Frisco," and I said, "In Frisco, it's cold here," and he goes, "Yeah, that's a good song," and turned to the bus driver who's in his band too. I guess, "Why don't we do that song anymore?" So, "I don't know, Merle." I said, "Well, you got no problem with me recording it, do you?" He says, "No, great, go ahead."
Wow.
So he was pretty relaxed when I was around.
Did you see him like late in his life?
Yeah, well, it was on that tour. It was the Legends tour, so he was still singing great, playing great, personality he had so much snap and was funny, and like I said, he was telling all these stories, but he definitely didn't. His voice sounded great. That decline that happened later, I didn't see any of that.
Yeah. Was he jamming at sound checks for a long time?
Yeah, no, he was, and he liked to. Yeah, he just liked to play guitar.
Yeah.
And that's what he told me when we were sitting there, because I'd read Volkart I played with him, and I gave Red his what was it, 20? I think his 25th birthday party, 20 something like that. And he looks the same now as he did. but anyway, we got talking about Red, and I says, yeah, Red. This is great. He says, well, you know, because we were talking about guitars and guitar players, and he said, you know, that's all I ever wanted to be was a guitar player. So I said, well, Red said you don't need a guitar player in your band. And Red did say that to me. And when he heard me say that, he said, Red said that? Really? I said, yeah. He said, you play guitar great. You don't need a guitar player in your band. He said, well, that makes me feel really good. So
That's a hell of a compliment.
I forgot even that conversation even existed to just remind me of it.
You got together with Ray and recorded a song about Merle.
Ray Benson.
Yeah.
Me and Ray recorded a whole album, but this particular song came, the one about Merle, feeling Haggard. Ray wrote the song the day after Merle died, and he calls me up and he says, hey Dale, since I started writing this song about Hag, and I'd like for you to help me finish it. I said, sure, yeah, when you want to go. I'll come over now. He says, great. He says, well, I got to be honest with you. He says, you're the third person I called. And I said, well, I'm just honored you called me at all, Ray. Ray's a wonderful guy, so talented. I like being around him. And he said, well, I think you might feel better when I tell you the other two. First person I called was Willie. But Willie, I think, was in Hawaii because he spends a lot of time there. It wasn't in Texas. And so the second person I called was George. George Jones had already passed, so I knew the only George is George Strait. And for some reason, he wasn't in Texas either. So he said, "Man, you're my third phone call." I said, "I take that company pretty well. That's good company." Yeah. But it really is a good song. And Ray, to give Ray more credit than even is on the album, he'd already started the verse and had a melody in mind. So it was just about putting more words in, you know. But it's fun writing with Ray, but especially about Merle Haggard. Merle Haggard was a real good friend of Ray, so that was a real personal loss for him.
Yeah. People seem to respond to that song too.
Yeah, no, it's probably the most requested. Well, it is the most requested song off that album, but I think I get a request for that every night.